Well, hello, it's good to see you today. I'm going to talk to you about tips for the garden for the month of August. Tip number 1, keep watering. I know, I keep telling you to water, but by this time in the garden season, I don't know about you, but I get a little tired of doing the same old chores over and over. So that little reminder goes a long way. You might not have to water as much. For us, it's a very rainy season here, so I'm finding that I don't have to water quite as much as I used to. But if you have planted some crops for fall, as I have, then you do want to make sure that you water those at the very least. Tip number 2, keep removing the spent blooms on your flowering plants. If you have things like marigolds that like to bloom on into the fall, but they're developing kind of like those dead seed heads, cut those seed heads off. Also, you could save those seeds for next year if you'd like. But if you keep cutting them back, keep deadheading, then you'll keep getting more and more flowers. The next tip is, if you put your houseplants out for the summer, now might be a good time to start bringing them in. If you live in a warmer climate, you might be able to wait a little longer. This is the time of year we put a little bit of compost on our rhubarb and asparagus beds. We have one bed in particular, we just have the rhubarb, asparagus, and horseradish because they all have the same soil requirements, and we find that dressing them with a layer of compost this time of year goes a long way. Now is also a good time to add a layer of mulch in the form of perhaps compost on your potatoes, carrots, or other root vegetables if you plan to leave them in the ground for a longer period of time. I don't know about you, but we're really busy canning, freezing, dehydrating, just preserving the harvest. So you've got to keep up with that on a daily basis almost. I find at least we check every day and then make our plans for the week, what we're going to harvest, when we're going to preserve it, and how we're going to do it. You also want to keep weeding. I know, it's just like watering, the 2 W's you have to keep up with. But this time of year, I find it starts to get a little bit easier. Things are starting to die off, and so it's not so hard. You're not playing tug of war when you're trying to pull the weeds out of the ground. It's also very rewarding once you do, because things are dying off, they're less likely to grow back again until next year. Here is a tomato plant that just seated itself right next to our compost pile. And we put a cage around it and just kind of left it alone, and we'll see what happens. Sometimes these are the happiest things that can happen to us in the garden.